Welcome to the deep dive. So, if you're an executive leader, maybe a growth leader in a B2B setting, or perhaps running an ambitious SME, well, you probably know this feeling, this frustration. You've done everything right, haven't you? Followed the playbook. You've ticked off the checklist for what should be operational success.
The famous check.
Exactly. You've got a solid product, right? Solves a real market need. Check.
Yep.
You've invested in a CRM. It's not just sitting there. It's humming, fed with data. Lots of activity. Check.
Constantly being updated.
And marketing. Active. Campaigns running. Generating interest. Driving traffic. Check again.
Check. So all the pieces seem to be there.
Right. But the growth engine, it's kind of sputtering, isn't it? That momentum you felt maybe a year ago. It feels like it's just gone. Replaced by this really frustrating plateau that just won't budge.
Yeah. It's like hitting an invisible wall. You
Yeah.
feel like you're doing all the right things, pushing all the right buttons.
But nothing's really scaling. It feels like you've got all the ingredients, the raw materials for growth, but the actual machine, the thing that turns those into real durable revenue, it feels jammed somehow.
And that's where our sources today come in. They suggest this stagnation, this common problem. It isn't really about a tactical slip-up. It's more strategic. There's this invisible missing piece, as they put it, that lots of organizations just overlook when they hit that wall.
Okay, so that's our focus for this deep dive. Two main goals, really. First, we want to unpack the steps needed for what the source calls strategic commercial outsourcing. This is supposed to be the way you insert that missing piece.
It's the mechanism.
And second, there's this fascinating sort of paradox we need to look at. Why a strategic framework that was actually developed back in February 2021 is apparently still, quote, 100% current today. Especially, and this is the key part, because of the explosion in generative AI.
That's the really interesting twist, isn't it? How AI doesn't make it obsolete, but maybe even more relevant. So for you listening, this discussion is, well, we think it's pretty crucial. We're aiming to give you that strategic framework, help you pinpoint where your foundational tactical stuff ends and where the real sustainable scaling growth strategy needs to kick in. We're shifting the focus from just, activity metrics.
Busy work.
Right, busy work, towards the actual architectural design of your growth engine.
Okay, let's start with that paradox then. The stalled growth. The checklist of false security, as the source puts it. Every leader knows this list, right? And often they kind of point to it as proof that, well, the problem can't be their strategy because, look, they did everything right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's the B2B holy trinity, you can almost call it. A good offer, good data, and good visibility.
I like that, the holy trinity.
Let's break that down a bit, though, because the failure point, it's often quite subtle. So a solid product, that means you've got product market fit, people are buying it, it works, it generates revenue.
Right, table stakes.
Then the CRM, as you said, well-fed, active.
Yeah.
But this isn't just a passive database. It represents a significant investment, right? Often 6, maybe even 7 figures. And it comes with this mandate that leads must be logged, activities tracked, data supposedly analyzed. Teams spend hours on data hygiene, logging calls.
Ensuring compliance with the system.
Exactly. And third part, active marketing. A consistent budget spend, generating interest through content, ads, events, whatever. The brand's out there, stuff's coming into the funnel.
So on paper, check. Should be smooth sailing, growth should be taking off, almost geometrically.
It should. But the big question, the one the source material really forces us to confront is, why does growth still, run out of steam? Why does it sputter despite all these massive investments? That's the invisible barrier making itself felt.
Okay, but hold on. If the product's good and the CRM is full of leads, couldn't that just be, a tactical issue? Maybe the sales team isn't closing well enough, or the marketing message needs tweaking. Why jump straight to strategy?
And that's the usual internal conversation, isn't it? It's the easiest place to point. But think about it. If it were just the sales team failing tactically, then good reporting, the advanced reporting we'll get to later, that should flag it clearly. You'd see conversion rates dropping at a specific stage, for example.
Okay.
But if you're hitting a true strategic plateau, the kind where just adding more budget or one more salesperson doesn't really move the needle proportionally, then the failure isn't in the execution of a task, it's in the architecture of the whole system.
Can you give an example of that? Architecture versus execution failure.
Sure. Let's take a scenario based on what we've seen. Company's got a CRM bursting at the seams, thousands of leads. But let's say 90% of those leads are actually poorly scored, or maybe they're just the wrong fit for the company's high-value, complex solution.
So lots of noise, not much signal.
Precisely. The company invested heavily in, say, marketing automation tools that generate volume. Great for top-of-funnel metrics, maybe, but they're not generating qualified strategic opportunity. So what happens? The internal sales team, maybe SDRs or even AEs, ends up spending, say, 80% of their valuable time manually sifting through this digital slush pile, trying to qualify leads that were never really qualified to begin with.
Right. Huge waste of human potential and probably demoralizing, too.
Totally demoralizing, creates burnout. So the company feels busy, the CRM dashboards look active, lots of touches, but actual strategic growth, flatlined, zero.
So the tactical success is filling the bucket, check. But the strategic failure is that the bucket's riddled with holes, or maybe it's just the wrong shape entirely for what they need to carry.
That's a great analogy, exactly. See, when a tactical problem pops up, like the landing page conversion rate tanks, you fix the campaign, you tweak the copy, change the image,
Yeah.
you optimize.
Mhm.
But when the strategic problem hits, the entire engine sputters because the fundamental structure, the internal method for generating genuinely qualified pipeline for your specific high-value offer, it's either flawed, inefficient, or maybe it just doesn't exist in a scalable way.
Okay, that makes sense.
So if you, listening right now, if you felt that plateau where throwing more ad money or hiring another generalist sales rep just doesn't give you that sustainable, disproportionate return anymore, it really underscores the point. Just having the tools and the activity isn't the answer.
It's not enough.
Not enough. It's the application of a key strategic element, specifically around high-leverage commercial activity, that's missing. It stops being about what you're doing day to day and starts being about how that really specialized front-end execution, the bit that feeds your closers with truly qualified opportunities, how that's structured, managed, and innovated upon at the highest level.
Right, which leads us directly into the proposed solution then, strategic commercial outsourcing. Now let's be really clear on this term, because like you said, outsourcing can mean a lot of things, often just delegating basic repetitive tasks.
Yeah, we absolutely have to differentiate here. Strategic commercial outsourcing, as the sources define it, is fundamentally different from just, say, hiring a cheap overseas call center to bash out calls. That's traditional delegation, maybe cost saving. This is about activating a very specific, very strategic key piece within your overall growth machinery. It's not about offloading grunt work, it's about inserting specialized capability.
Specialized capability for what exactly? What is this key piece?
It represents dedicated capacity focused purely on executing the highest leverage commercial activities. And in today's world, that specifically means advanced hybrid lead generation and qualification. Hybrid meaning human and AI-driven.
Ah, okay. So not just human callers, not just AI bots, but a combination.
A deliberate, structured combination. These are the activities: finding the right accounts, identifying the right people, engaging them personally at scale, qualifying deeply that require constant R&D. You need to stay on the cutting edge of both technology and methodology.
And that's hard for a typical B2B company to do internally.
It's incredibly resource intensive. Think about it. Your core focus is probably product innovation, customer success, building and maintaining a dedicated internal team that's also world-class at the bleeding edge of AI-driven sales tech and methodology. It's a huge distraction, potentially impossible to do well without sacrificing focus elsewhere.
So you're effectively outsourcing the innovation required for top-of-funnel pipeline generation, not just the day-to-day operational tasks.
That's it, exactly. You're externalizing the R&D burden, the implementation complexity, the continuous learning curve associated with advanced sales methodology, and the whole commitment. The obsession, really, is to make sure the growth that comes out isn't just a temporary spike. It has to be both durable, meaning sustainable over time, and critically measurable.
Okay, durable and measurable. Got it. Now, let's tackle that time paradox head on. The sources mention this strategy framework from February 2021, 3 years ago. In tech terms, that's like ancient history, especially with the GenAI explosion since then. How can they claim it's 100% current? Seems, well, counterintuitive.
It does seem that way at first glance, doesn't it? But this is where the strategic nature of the framework becomes really clear. Let's think back to early 2021. What did the B2B tech landscape look like then?
We had machine learning, definitely. Predictive analytics tools were around, some automation for personalization.
Right. But they're often quite opaque, weren't they? Complex to integrate, often needing dedicated data science teams to really make them sing. And generative AI, things like ChatGPT that everyone uses now, hadn't hit the mainstream. It wasn't easily accessible commercially.
True. It was more behind the scenes, less user-facing.
Exactly. So the strategic methodology developed back then, the smart ones anyway, were designed with flexibility in mind. They anticipated that technology would keep advancing rapidly, even if they didn't know exactly what form it would take.
So the framework wasn't tied to specific tools that are now outdated, but based on principles that still hold true.
Precisely. It was inherently agile. It wasn't built around, say, ToolX version 1.0. It was built around core principles. And the most important principle was the hybrid integration, combining high-precision technology, whatever that technology might be at the time, with essential human strategic oversight and relationship building.
Okay.
So in 2021, high-precision technology might have meant sophisticated predictive lead scoring systems based on existing data. Today, in the context of this same framework, it means integrating large language models for hyper-personalized communication at a scale we couldn't imagine back then.
So the principle of leveraging the best available tech alongside humans remains, but the tools slotted into that framework have evolved dramatically.
Exactly. The fundamental strategic need, the need to separate out that high-volume, high-precision, tech-driven commercial activity from the core business focus, that need hasn't changed. If anything, generative AI since 2021 has just massively accelerated the need for this kind of external specialization. Because AI can now do things that were incredibly difficult or time-consuming before. Drafting highly contextualized outreach messages in seconds, scoring leads based on really subtle online behavioral signals, optimizing the timing of outreach across different channels and time zones with inhuman consistency. The potential is huge, but so is the complexity of managing it effectively.
Right. So if a company tries to build all that capability internally, adopting the AI, experimenting, retraining staff, managing the data, executing it all, they get completely bogged down, diverted from their actual product or service.
Completely. They end up spending more time managing the sales tech stack than talking to customers.
Yeah.
So the strategy effectively becomes outsource this specialized commercial function to experts whose entire job is to manage the cutting-edge AI implementation for you within that hybrid framework.
So the rise of AI didn't kill the 2021 strategy, it actually supercharged the argument for it. It shifted from outsourcing for efficiency to outsourcing for technological relevance and focus.
You've nailed it. The 2021 framework was essentially future-proofed because it was technology agnostic at its strategic core. It was built to absorb disruptions like GenAI and immediately apply them to the client's benefit. It's a structure designed for a world of continuous technological churn.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. But it raises a critical question, the one I imagine keeps leaders up at night. Doesn't outsourcing a core growth function like this, even to specialists, mean losing control? Control over your brand voice, your market strategy, the customer relationship? That's got to be the biggest fear.
It's a completely valid fear. And honestly, if it were just simple delegation, that risk would be very real. That's precisely why the sources hammer home that this specific methodology isn't just a transaction. It has to be a deep strategic partnership.
Partnership? Okay.
And the structure itself, the way it's designed, directly addresses that risk. Which brings us perfectly to those 4 pillars of differentiation you mentioned earlier. The failure mode you just described, losing control, misalignment, that primarily happens when 2 of those pillars, particularly pillars 2 and 3, are ignored or poorly implemented.
All right. So let's get into those pillars. These are the differentiators that supposedly elevate this from just, hiring some outside agency into a proper strategic growth lever, especially fit for this AI era.
Exactly. Let's start with pillar 1.
Okay. Pillar 1, the hybrid approach, human plus AI.
Right. This is really the tactical engine room of the whole thing in the modern context. It's about the deliberate, structured integration of human intuition and relationship skills with the power and scale of artificial intelligence. This is why that 2021 strategy stays current, because it was always about optimizing this blend.
Oh, why is the blend so important? Couldn't AI eventually just handle everything in B2B sales?
Well, maybe someday far in the future, but certainly not now, and likely not for complex, high-value B2B deals. Think about what really closes those deals. It's trust, right? It's understanding nuance, navigating internal politics within the client's organization, building a long-term relationship.
Yeah, the human element, emotional intelligence, complex negotiation.
Exactly. AI, even sophisticated Gen AI, can't replicate that deep understanding, that gut feeling, that ability to read the room or navigate a really complex legal or procurement discussion. Not yet, anyway.
Okay, so how does this hybrid balance actually work day to day? What does the AI do and what does the human do in this outsourced model?
Good question. We can think of it as dividing the labor based on what each does best. The AI handles the tasks requiring massive scale, speed, and data processing power. Things like 1. Hypersegmentation. Going way beyond basic industry or company size. AI can analyze news feeds, press releases, job postings, social media, even earnings calls, to segment prospects based on recent events, strategic shifts, tech stack changes, leadership move signals that indicate timing and relevance. Stuff a human researcher would take days to find, AI finds in seconds.
Right, much deeper, more dynamic targeting.
2, personalization at scale. This is where GenAI really shines now. It's not just inserting first name into a template. It's drafting genuinely personalized outreach messages based on that hypersegmentation. Referencing a prospect's recent article, a company announcement, a shared connection, making the outreach feel relevant and researched, but doing it for hundreds or thousands of prospects.
That's the holy grail everyone talks about.
And 3, predictive lead scoring and timing. AI can analyze vast data sets of past interactions, engagement signals across web, email, social, to predict not only who is most likely to engage, but when the absolute optimal micro-moment is to reach out. Is it Tuesday at 10:15 a.m. via LinkedIn, followed by an email Thursday afternoon? AI can optimize that continuously.
Okay, so the AI basically identifies the who, the when, and crafts a highly relevant initial message, cutting out all that manual prospecting guesswork and grunt work.
Exactly. It tees up the opportunity with incredible precision and efficiency. And that frees up the human agent, who, in this model, is a highly skilled strategic relationship builder, not just a cold caller, to focus entirely on the high-value, uniquely human activities.
Like what? What's their primary role then?
Their role transforms. They focus on 1, complexity handling, engaging in those nuanced conversations, navigating tricky procurement processes, discussing complex integration requirements, handling objections that require deep domain knowledge. 2, emotional intelligence, building genuine rapport, understanding the prospect's underlying motivations and fears, reading between the lines in a meeting, negotiating terms effectively, essentially building trust.
The stuff AI can't fake.
Right. And 3, strategic qualification. Going beyond the basic BANT, budget, authority, need, timeline, really digging deep to understand the prospect's core strategic challenges, how the proposed solution fits into their long-term vision, and ensuring there's a true architectural alignment, not just a surface-level need.
Got it. So the AI does the heavy lifting at the front end, and the human takes over for the complex, high-touch relationship building and closing stages.
Well, in this outsource model, the human expert within the outsourced team typically handles that strategic qualification and relationship initiation. They ensure the opportunity passed back to the client's internal closing team is not just warm, but genuinely qualified, strategically aligned, and ready for a serious conversation.
Ah, okay. So the outsourced team takes it further than just lead gen.
Much further. And this is the crucial link back to why GenAI makes this more relevant. Since 2021, the efficiency multiplier for that human agent within the hybrid system has gone through the roof. By outsourcing this hybrid engine, you eliminate maybe 80% of the low-value, time-consuming tasks that bog down internal teams. The outsourced team ensures your expensive internal closers are only talking to highly qualified, strategically vetted prospects. It makes your internal team dramatically more effective.
Right, leveraging external specialization to boost internal productivity. Okay, that's pillar 1. What's pillar 2?
Pillar 2 is the strategic linchpin, executive leader implication.
Okay, so the top boss, the CEO, the dirigent, has to be involved. But hang on, isn't the whole point of outsourcing to free up the leader's time? Why make their involvement mandatory?
That's the million-dollar question. And it highlights the biggest difference between this strategic approach and just, traditional delegation where you hand something off and hope for the best.
Yeah.
The point isn't to free up all of the leader's time from this function. It's to free up their time from the day-to-day operational weeds so they can dedicate quality time to the strategic oversight and direction of this crucial growth engine.
Okay, strategic oversight, not operational management.
Exactly. Top-level involvement is mandatory because, remember, you're essentially outsourcing a critical part of your market-facing growth strategy. If the executive leader, the CEO or equivalent, views this initiative as just an operational task, a necessary evil to get some leads in the door, like hiring a cleaning service, it's almost guaranteed to fail over the long term.
Why guarantee?
Because of misalignment. The outsourced partner, if left without that high-level strategic guidance, will inevitably start optimizing for metrics that are easy to measure and hit, like number of calls, number of emails sent, maybe even raw lead volume, rather than optimizing for what truly drives the company's strategic goals. which might be fewer, higher quality leads in a specific new market segment, for example.
Ah, I see. So the leader's job is to constantly ensure the outsourced efforts are pointing directly at the company's most important strategic objectives, not just generating noise.
Precisely. The leader needs to treat the outsourced partner not like a disposable vendor, but like an agile external extension of their own strategic steering committee. They need to view this initiative as a strategic growth pilot.
A pilot, okay.
Their active involvement ensures that alignment. It ensures the external efforts constantly reflect the core business vision, the shifting market conditions, the changes in product focus. For instance, if the company suddenly decides to pivot from targeting mid-market clients to pursuing large enterprise deals, the executive leader needs to be the one communicating that strategic shift, its nuances and implications, directly to the outsourced partner's leadership immediately.
So the communication flow is critical.
Absolutely. Now, contrast that with the classic failure mode we often see. A mid-level marketing or sales director is tasked with finding more leads. They delegate the whole outsourcing setup down the chain. The outsourced team starts working, maybe effectively based on their initial brief, but they're operating in a strategic vacuum.
Disconnected.
Totally disconnected. They might be generating leads for a product line that the executive team secretly decided 3 weeks ago to sunset in the next quarter. All that effort, wasted, because the strategic context wasn't shared. Executive implication prevents that fatal disconnect. It guarantees the outsourced engine is always calibrated to the current highest value strategic priorities.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Strategic alignment through leadership involvement. Pillar 2. What's pillar 3?
Pillar 3 is advanced reporting.
Right. You mentioned this earlier. The source insists it has to go way beyond the basic vanity metrics. If that missing piece is invisible, then the reporting has to be the powerful microscope that makes it visible, understandable, and actionable. So what makes reporting advanced in this specific context?
Advanced reporting here isn't just about tracking more data points. It's about tracking the right data points and presenting them in a way that directly informs strategic decision-making at the executive level. That's the key. It connects directly back to Pillar 2, executive implication.
So if the report lands on the CEO's desk and doesn't help them make a better strategic decision or ask a smarter question about the growth pilot, it's not advanced.
Exactly. It's just noise, potentially dangerous noise if it makes people feel productive without actually driving strategic results. In this framework, advanced metrics deliberately move beyond simple volume, calls, emails, even raw leads, and focus intensely on quality, alignment, and velocity of strategically relevant opportunities.
Okay, quality, alignment, velocity. Can you give examples of specific metrics that would qualify as advanced here?
Yeah, I can outline 3 specific types of metrics that exemplify this, all derived from creating a tight feedback loop between the outsourced strategic engine and the internal team that ultimately closes the deals.
Okay.
First, you need something like a strategic alignment score. Let's call it SAS. This isn't just about lead score based on demographics. It measures how closely the opportunities being generated by the outsourced partner match the current, explicitly stated strategic growth objectives defined by the executive leader, Pillar 2.
How would you measure that?
It could be a weighted score. For example, if the current #1 strategic priority is penetrating the UK healthcare sector with product X, leads matching that exact profile get a high SAS score. Leads in a different sector, or for a legacy product, get a low score, even if they look like good leads on paper. This forces the outsourced partner and the reporting to focus relentlessly on strategic fit, not just volume.
Right, it directly connects the operational output back to the leader's stated goals. Very clear. What's the second metric?
The second focuses on the handover. Let's call it the hybrid handoff success rate, HHSR. This measures the quality of that crucial transition point where the opportunity moves from the AI-supported, human-driven qualification process within the outsourced team to the client's internal sales team for closing.
How do you measure the success of that handoff?
You measure the percentage of handed-off leads that result in a substantive first meeting, not just an intro call, but a real high-value discovery or demo meeting, and then track what percentage of those actually progress deeper into the defined sales cycle stages. A low HHSR is a huge red flag.
Why? What does it indicate?
It tells you there's a breakdown in Pillar 1, the hybrid process. Either the AI targeting is off, bringing in the wrong people, or the human qualification by the outsourced team isn't deep enough, maybe they're not truly uncovering needs or confirming authority. It immediately tells the executive leader where strategic iteration is needed in the process itself.
That's powerful. It puts accountability on the quality of the qualification, not just the quantity of leads passed over. Okay, what's the third example?
The third focuses on speed, but strategic speed. Let's call it total strategic lead velocity, TSLV. We know sales velocity is critical in B2B. TSLV specifically tracks the average time taken from the very first touch point, often an AI-driven outreach, right through to that first substantive executive level meeting, but only for leads that meet a high strategic alignment score.
SI, so velocity for the right kind of leads.
Exactly. Are we quickly engaging and advancing the opportunities that actually matter most to our strategy? This metric ensures the entire combined hybrid engine, both the tech and the human parts, is operating with maximum efficiency and precision on the targets that count. A fast TSLV proves the system is agile and effective. A slow TSLV signals a bottleneck, maybe in the automated sequences, maybe in the human follow-up prioritization that needs immediate attention.
Okay, so advanced reporting here is really about creating a diagnostic dashboard for the strategic growth pilot. It's not just rear-view mirror tracking, it's providing the specific, actionable insights needed for continuous steering and improvement, ensuring that growth truly is measurable in the ways that matter strategically.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Mhm.
That's the core function, making the invisible process visible, manageable, and improvable.
Which leads nicely into the final pillar, Pillar 4.
Right, pillar 4. Customize an agile methodology.
This seems to address the obvious point that B2B isn't monolithic. What works for one company in one sector might be totally wrong for another. So this pillar is about rejecting any kind of one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter approach.
Absolutely essential. The methodology underpinning the outsourcing has to be deeply personalized to the client, and it needs to be built for rapid adaptation agility. Let's break that down.
Okay, customization first. How does the strategy tailor the approach?
Customization means adapting literally every layer of the commercial approach. The specific channels used for lead generation, LinkedIn, niche forums, events, cold email, the exact language, tone, and style used in messaging, the depth of research required before outreach, the specific human skills needed for qualification. All of it needs tailoring to the client's unique profile.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about a small, ambitious SME, maybe a tech firm trying to break into a crowded market dominated by giants. Their outsourced methodology needs to be laser-focused on demonstrating speed, agility, maybe disruptive ROI. The messaging needs to be sharp, concise, maybe challenge the status quo. The human interaction needs to quickly build trust and credibility, perhaps emphasizing direct access to their leadership.
Okay, scrappy and fast.
Right. Now, contrast that with, say, a large established software publisher launching a complex new enterprise platform or API. Their target audience is CTOs, enterprise architects. The methodology needs to focus on technical depth, security, compliance, long-term partnership viability, integration capabilities. The messaging needs to be detailed, evidence-based, perhaps involving white papers or technical deep dives early on. The human qualification needs to handle sophisticated technical objections.
Totally different ballgame. You can't just use the same email template or call script.
Absolutely not. It sounds obvious. But many traditional outsourcing models try to apply a generic process. A truly strategic partner needs to understand the client's specific market context, their size, their sector's buying behaviors, their internal sales culture, and build the methodology around that reality. They need to be capable of running potentially several fundamentally different methodologies simultaneously for different clients.
Okay, deep customization. Now, what about the agile part? Why is agility so crucial here?
Agility connects directly back to Pillar 3, the advanced reporting. Agility is the built-in capability to act on those advanced insights quickly.
So if the reporting shows the strategic alignment score, SS, is dropping for a key segment, or the hybrid handoff success rate, HHSR, suddenly plummets,
The methodology can't take 3 months to adjust. The system needs to pivot fast. In today's market, especially with generative AI tactics evolving almost weekly, new tools, new approaches, shifting prospect expectations, if your commercial methodology is rigid and slow to adapt, you're dead in the water.
your competitors using more agile approaches will just eat your lunch.
Pretty much. Agility means the system, the combination of AI tools, human processes, and strategic oversight, is built for rapid iteration. If an AI-generated message sequence suddenly stops performing in a target vertical after just 2 weeks of data, an agile system doesn't wait for the quarterly review. It immediately triggers testing of, say, 4 new message variations, maybe using AI itself to help generate and A/B test those variations rapidly.
And Pillar 2, the executive implication, ensures the goal of the pivot stays aligned with strategy. even while the tactics are changing.
Exactly. The executive provides the strategic North Star, while the agile methodology allows the outsourced team to quickly adjust the sails based on the real-time wins reported by Pillar 3. It ensures the whole approach is a living, breathing, responsive system, constantly optimizing itself against the current market reality, not locked into assumptions made 6 months ago.
Okay, so those are the 4 pillars. Hybrid human plus AI, executive implication, advanced reporting, and customized and agile methodology. It paints a picture of something much more integrated and strategic than simple task delegation.
That's the entire point. It's architecting a strategic growth capability, not just buying leads.
Now, this highly specialized 4 pillar approach, it sounds like it's not for everyone. The sources are pretty clear about who benefits most, right? Who is the specific target audience for this kind of strategic partnership?
Yeah, it's definitely targeted. We're primarily talking about B2B commercial growth leaders, VPs of sales, CROs, who feel like they've squeezed all the efficiency they can from their existing internal teams and processes, and they know they need something fundamentally different to scale sustainably.
Okay, the ones hitting that plateau we discussed.
Right, and definitely the executive leaders, the CEOs, the directors, who recognize the strategic imperative but don't have the bandwidth or, frankly, the desire to get bogged down in the operational complexities of building and managing a cutting-edge hybrid AI sales development function themselves. They need to make strategic bets on growth without becoming technologists.
Makes sense. Focus on their core business.
And critically, it's aimed very much at those small and medium enterprises, the PMEs, as the source might call them. Companies that have ambitious growth goals, but simply lack the internal scale, budget, or specialized expertise to build this kind of sophisticated hybrid AI capability in-house. This gives them access to enterprise-grade pipeline generation to compete effectively.
Leveling the playing field somewhat.
In a way, yes. And also, very relevant for software publishers, platform companies, editors operating in those hyper-competitive digital markets. For them, innovation in how they go to market, how they reach and engage prospects, is almost as important as the innovation in their actual product code. Commercial outreach itself becomes a competitive differentiator.
So all these audiences share a common strategic challenge, needing highly efficient, precisely targeted growth that maximizes their resource allocation. They can't afford wasted effort. They need surgical precision.
Exactly. They need a system, not just more activity. And the sources associate this specific methodology with a particular persona, Jean-Charles Spanellis, described as a B2B commercial growth pilot. This isn't just about a name. It represents a certain mindset, a passion for applying innovation, particularly technology, specifically to solve the strategic growth pains of these particular audiences.
So a focus on leveraging tech not as a shiny object, but as an essential tool within a superior strategic methodology designed for executives, SMEs, and publishers.
That's the idea. It's about framing the solution around the strategic pain of that plateaued executive.
So boiling it down, the core benefit isn't just we'll get you more leads. It's about fundamentally transforming the process of growth itself.
Absolutely. It's about diagnosing the strategic bottleneck and providing the mechanism to fix it. It's about shifting the conversation from challenges like stalled growth, limited resources, fear of technological lag into active levers of success.
How?
By using this specific differentiated approach.
And a key part of that is freeing up internal resources.
Critically, by strategically outsourcing the complex execution of the hybrid AI human system, Pillar 1, and its associated reporting infrastructure, part of Pillar 3, you liberate your key internal people, especially your leadership, Pillar 2, and your core sales team, to focus exclusively on the things that require deep internal knowledge and strategic steering. Things like refining the overall company strategy, managing the most critical client relationships, closing the high-value deals that the outsourced engine surfaces.
So you outsource the specialized engine building and operation so your internal team can focus on driving the car strategically.
That's a fantastic way to put it. You stop asking your best internal strategists and closers to also be expert mechanics for a highly complex engine they didn't build. That shift in internal focus from operational execution to strategic leverage, that's how you turn the challenge of stalled growth into a powerful lever. That's how you build the foundational growth architecture needed for real, long-term scale.
This has been a really insightful deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, exploring that invisible missing piece in B2B growth. The diagnosis seems pretty clear from the sources. Growth often stalls not because the product is bad or the CRM is empty, but because a vital strategic component, that specialized hybrid commercial methodology, is either missing entirely or it's being handled internally without the necessary structure, focus, or executive oversight.
Right, the tactical checklist isn't enough.
And the proposed solution, framed as strategic commercial outsourcing, isn't just delegation. It requires a real commitment to that four-pillar framework we discussed. Fully embracing the hybrid AI-human interaction to maximize everyone's strengths, insisting on rigorous executive leader ownership, Pillar 2, to keep everything strategically aligned, demanding advanced reporting, Pillar 3, that provides diagnostic, actionable insights, not just vanity metrics, and building it all on a foundation of customized and agile methodology, Pillar 4, designed for personalization and continuous adaptation.
That's the blueprint, essentially. So the challenge we'd leave you with, if you're that executive leader or growth pilot listening right now, is to take a really honest, critical look at your current commercial efforts. Where do they fall short against these four pillars?
Good question.
Are you perhaps trying to scale tactically, just throwing more resources at the problem, without that deep, ongoing executive ownership ensuring strategic alignment? Is your reporting truly advanced enough? Does it give you that strategic alignment score, that hybrid handoff success rate, the insights you need to actually pivot and make better decisions? Or is it just tracking activity?
Yeah, where are the strategic gaps in your current approach?
And maybe here's the final provocative thought to chew on, connecting back to that 2021 paradox. If that strategic framework holds up because generative AI can now handle so much of the high-volume, complex, tactical execution, what specific tasks are your internal sales and marketing teams spending time on right now that are frankly becoming obsolete or could be done far more efficiently by a specialized outsourced hybrid engine?
Ooh, that's a tough question. What should they stop doing?
Make a list. Seriously, identify those tasks. Because the human capacity freed up by strategically outsourcing their elimination isn't meant for your team to just check email more often or attend more internal meetings. That liberated capacity, especially at the leadership level, is meant to be reinvested exclusively in the high-level strategic thinking, the crucial relationship building, the vision setting, the coaching, the things only you and your core internal team can truly provide.
So strategic outsourcing isn't really about shipping labor out.
Not primarily. It's fundamentally about prioritizing and elevating internal executive focus. It's about consciously shifting your best people's time from being operational tacticians bogged down in execution to becoming true strategic pilots steering the growth journey, making that deliberate shift. That might just be the key to finally unlocking durable, scaled growth.